Hi, in this video, I'll take you through the organization settings in Xero Practice Manager. So let's jump in, we'll check it out together. So to find the organization settings, we're going to go to Business and then down to Settings. Now this is the first thing you want to do when you first set up your trial of Xero Practice Manager. You'll find them here under Practice Settings. So click into here. So what I'll do here is run through all of the fields that I think are really important to understand rather than going through every single one. A lot of them are self-explanatory and I just want to really focus on the ones that people do make mistakes on. So the first one here, I'll just start here. This is your company name and that's what's going to show up here in your portal. Now, if we cruise down a little bit, your cost markup percentage, that's the default markup that you're going to see when you put a cost on the job. So 30%, that's the default here, but you may want to put that at 0. So if we put a $100 cost in, it'll come at a $100 price, or we might want to put 100% in or whatever it looks like. So that's what your default markup will be, so it's worth considering. We have our WIP lock dates. We can lock our WIP. If we do lock, it means that we can't edit timesheets previous to that date. So it's a bit like locking in Xero. If you lock a period, you can't edit it, and that's what those mean there. Now, this is a really important one here, is task invoice rates, staff billable rate and task billable rate. Now, when we get into our rates, you can set up a billable rate at a staff member level, and you can also set the billable rate up at a task level. Now, generally in an accounting practice, we'll have this set to staff billable rates and not task billable rates, because each staff member will have their billable rate that they do work for. Whereas if we have task billable rate, that's going to be overridden by the task billable rates. So if we have annual accounts work, we want to have different staff have different rates on that depending on their level of experience. And we can set up custom rates at a staff member level. So if we want a staff member to have a lower rate or a higher rate on a specific task, we can do that in that record. But really important, we have staff billable rate here, and we choose staff here. And then for your staff task allocation, we want this to be inherent from job. So that's the best way to set these 3 boxes up here. So make sure those are done. Now this first box isn't so relevant. You can leave that unchecked. And when adding a cost to a job, also add to the cost admin. It's a good idea to leave this checked off. Otherwise you're going to find that every time someone adds a cost to a job, you're going to end up creating a huge mess in your cost admin section. So best to leave that unchecked. Now if we scroll down a little bit further here, the report format, this is another important one. So we want to leave this at decimal 1.5 rather than at 1:30. The reason for that is when we hit, so these 2 examples here are an hour and a half. At this first one, it looks like that's the way you should go, but the problem is when we export any report to Excel, which you will end up doing, if you have it set at 1:30, you can't add times together. So if we go and sum a whole lot of timesheets and it's got this format here, you end up with a big mess. Excel doesn't know how to work with it. Decimals, however, it can work with. So it's really important that we set this at decimal and leave it there. Now the other one here is that rounding to the nearest minute. How do we want to be rounding our time? So you can have it set to no rounding, or you can set it to a default round up or to the nearest 15 minutes, for example. So that's another one worth looking at as well. So those are the key settings that you want to look at when you're setting this up. You don't need to worry about all of them. Probably a good idea to read through them all and understand them, but those are the real key ones that you want to make sure you get right. Once you've done that, simply hit save. So that's how you set up your organization settings in Xero Practice Manager. So I've just run you through those important ones there, so make sure you do follow my recommendations on those ones, and all the other ones, give them a bit of a glance over and just make your call on how you want to set those up. So hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.